Well, this may be of interest to a few of you. This whole page that I'm doing, as I've said, is going to be about the making of Sleepy Hamlet. Although Sleepy Hamlet being the the village, the story is actually called The Night of the Village Idiots. But there's many a stage in producing a comic page, a graphic novel, anything like that. And this is one of the early ones. First of all, I've already written the story. That's out in book form in Amazon. This is a novel, as I'm very well may have mentioned. I'm doing it as a graphic novel now. This is what this whole page is about. So, like I say, once I've abridged it, then I go to put the various bits and pieces into comics pages. Now, what I've just done at the top there is I've cut off a part of the page at the very, very top, which will just be a little bit of dialogue, a little bit of descriptive dialogue, or as it's called in the business, copy. The next stage will be to line up the first few boxes. This is where I'll be having Lady Hermione Hamlet brooding somewhat. So here she goes. Normally, when I do these things, I do them very, very quickly, and you probably wouldn't be able to work out what it was that I was doing, but I'd know. But for the sake of this particular project, I'm going to be taking it very, very slowly and carefully, and I'll be showing you every single stage, and I'll be paying a bit more attention to what it is that I do. But even as I said in a couple of posts ago, one of these pages, I did it, finished it. I did 5 pages on the trot, I think it was, and I came to ink it, or came to put the lettering on it once I penciled it, inked it, and coloured it. And all of a sudden, I thought, there's 4 panels there with empty dialogue boxes, and on the rough, like here, I'd not written anything. I thought, the hell am I playing at? So even that, at some stage, can go wrong. I mean, I had to literally write dialogue in the box. Okay, sounds quite simple, but all the other pages had been linked on from the one before, so you had to make sure that you didn't say the same thing twice, or whatever it was you were going to write in there was going to run smoothly with the next few pages. It was a little bit of a headache, but like I say, the whole idea of this faceless book page is to let you know exactly what it is that I'm doing. Okay, so we're going past the first panel, and this particular thing, Lady Hermione Hamlet and Lord Hamlet do not like each other. They don't get along. They never have done. And they seem to spend most of their time sort of just disliking each other. Lady Hermione, she comes from an aristocratic family, as Lord Hamlet, obviously. And it was a marriage set up by their parents. Advantage to both sides. She wanted a husband who was going to do things in his life, go places, maybe become an MP or get a foreign placement and become a sort of governor of somewhere. But all Lord Hamlet really wants to do is to get involved in his little countryside pursuits of horsing, shooting, drinking, and generally making a nuisance of himself in the village along with his little village idiot friends. Lady Hermione is a very strong-minded woman. She likes to have success, but she's not going to get any. She's obviously got the only weak-willed, weak-kneed, and weak-minded member of the Hamlet family. All the rest of them were quite illustrious, and that in itself has something to do with the story. Quite a bit to do with the story. It's their personality, but it also has quite a bit to do with the story. So that will be something that'll permeate throughout the entire tale. It does get a lot more involved. Now, here she's sort of, because it's belting down with rain and what have you, and she can't do anything, they're both stuck in the house. He'd rather be down the pub, but he couldn't get out. So she's sort of like trying to get his attention through a variety of size. So I did that by having her with a small sigh to start with, and she's a little bit in the background. The sigh gets bigger, she comes closer, and the sigh gets larger and she's closer again. And then right at the ends, you'll notice there's another box with copy in it, and I really hope like hell that I've got this one right. Now this is strange, this is very unusual for me. I always start with the head and then I draw the body. But for this particular one, I started with the body, and I think it's because her head is thrown back as she's dragging in every part of air she can to fill her lungs to capacity. And she's got quite a sizable nose, so she can probably take in a fair old bit, probably more than most of us. And may not be very clear at the moment, but when it comes down to the finished picture, a lot more will be noticeable. Another point to make about these stories is that provisionally, I think is the right word, provisionally I'm setting these stories in the 1950s English countryside. To me, I think that was the golden age of country living. There were still a few aristocratic families around who were actually living within their means, that they still had land, and they were still those annoying little, well, just very annoying people. Don't want to swear on here, there might be children watching, but you know what I mean. I have very little time for the aristocracy, but they do make for entertaining storylines because they're just of a different era. They just don't seem to have moved on with the rest of the world. Now, another problem when I wrote the book, the Sleepy Hamlet novel, although there's nothing wrong with it, go ahead, have a look at it yourself, go and purchase it, as I would say, and you'll see yourself. Its only problem, and like I said, it isn't really a problem, but if there is a problem, it's that it was written by a cartoonist. So when I went to describe the scenes, I automatically wrote it as I would draw a cartoon page. So there was a lot of slapstick involved, a lot of action and ridiculous things happening. Like when she finally sighs, she blows him and the rug halfway across the room. Well, in real life, that's not going to happen. But in a comic, it does. So that's another reason why it needed to go into graphic novel form. Right, okay, there's the carpet being lifted by the massive sigh. Things will be flying across the room with him. Always, another note, always remember, if you're going to be doing these sort of things, whether it be comic pages or whether it be an ongoing graphic novel, if you have a decent sized scene like this one is, then you have to take into consideration that it's going to take about 5 pages, so whatever happens in each panel has to be in the next. I know it sounds obvious to those of you out there who are cartoonists, but for those of you who are learning, you think you do a nice big picture, loads of action in it, and you've got the 4 pages. Well, if those tables and chairs have been scattered across the room, then as you draw the next few pages, those tables and chairs will have to be there again. They'll always have to be there. This one was proven to be a little bit more of a difficult thing to do, because in this picture the carpet had completely enveloped Lord Hamlet, and it was over the top of him, and it was over the top of the chair. So I had to imagine him being under a carpet, and also the chair being under the carpet, and how the carpet would lay on top of them or drape over them. And it was not really know how to do it. In the rough form, it's a lot easier, because you think, oh, that's okay, don't worry about that. I can just, it will get done properly in the other one. But of course, that isn't the case. You've got to really get it right here as well. There's the estimated balloons. Now, I was going to say something massively important there, but I can't think what it was, so I probably won't. Right, okay, so we're coming to the final section now, which is Lady Hermione venting her spleen, shall we say, getting angry, getting frustrated. And this is where we find out why she's so annoyed. What has really upset her. And then the rest of the little sequence goes from there. But it's all leading up to something. And I won't tell you what it is, but I'll just give you a quick clue. It's something to do with a painting. And that is going to be the basis of their part of the story, because this is a story that takes place between Lord and Lady Hamlet, between the three servants in the serving hall, and the pub, the village pub, the Cock and Bull. So there we go. There we pretty much have all of the art, and that's it. And I hope you keep coming back.